Welcome to Surviving Roots, the podcast where we journey through the complexities of our emotions together. I'm your host, Carrie Fund, and I'm here to guide you on a path of self-discovery, understanding, and healing. In each episode, we'll explore a range of emotions and experiences, from navigating grief and trauma to managing stress and anxiety. Through candid conversations, expert insights, and practical strategies, we'll uncover the tools you need to navigate life's emotional landscape with resilience and grace. So, let's embark on this transformative journey together. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself this time. This podcast is for you. Hi, everyone. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Cam, a renowned psychologist and expert in teen behavior. Dr. Cam has dedicated her career to helping parents understand and support their teenagers, especially when dealing with toxic parenting dynamics. Let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Cam.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to be here today because I really focus on what it's like growing up with two toxic parents and having a toxic upbringing. And I'm excited to have you today because you're such an expert in all of this. And, as a mother myself, I wonder sometimes, sometimes when we try not to be something so much, we can go the completely extreme. And I question myself, like, am I being healthy? Is this toxic parenting? So I just want to know if you could, for everyone listening, if you could define toxic parenting and what are some common signs that we should be aware of as parents?
Woo, big question. So toxic parenting has a big umbrella, right? But I think the one thing when we're self-reflective, and I think first of all, if we're not self-reflective, which means they're probably not listening anyway, that is a good sign that there might be some toxic parenting. So as soon as you're listening to hear and you're being self-reflective, you already are taking an enormous step in the right direction, right? Because that's the key. So now that we're being self-reflective, if our focus, and we tend to think of things and we continuously focusing on our experience with our teen, and we're constantly thinking about how is my teen impacting me? How is this experience impacting me? What do I need in this situation? Then we're not focusing on our teens, which is what we need to be doing as a parent.
Amazing.
And it's really difficult for us to do because we only know our own experience. Absolutely. So if we're doing this and we're looking at our teen, and a lot of the questions are, why is my teen being mean to me? Or why is my teen acting out? Or why is my teen causing my life to be so difficult? Or why is my teen doing all of this like tough stuff to me? Then again, we are focusing too much on our needs, and our teens are trying to tell us with their behavior that we're not giving them what they need.
Okay.
If they don't act out without a reason.
Yeah.
Great. So if they're acting out to us, then there's something between our dynamic that is not meeting their needs.
And I love this. Okay. Well, I love this. And this actually, I'm going to switch gears for a second because, we hear so much about how important it is for self-care for parents and burnout. But, you just mentioned like we have to have the self-awareness to focus on. It's not really always, it's not about us all the time. So we're not having the self-awareness to, realize like it's not about me, it's about them. How do we balance this? Like we need self-care, but we need the self-awareness to focus on our kids.
I think this is so important. And I think, again, how we approach self-care is all about it too. When we're like, oh my God, I need a break from my teens, I'm just going to go do this. Or, oh my God, there's like, if we're doing it from an escape from this, and I need to do self-care because I need to treat myself because of this terrible experience that I'm having, then that is, again, not supporting your teenager. That is being more about, if you're going, I need to be the best that I can be. And I want to be the best for me. And I want to be the best for my teen because I want to be able to show up for my teen in a way where I am calm, where I'm not emotionally reactive or stuck in my stress zone, because then I'm not giving them my best. And I want to also model to them what it means to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying we're being completely like, it's nothing about us and we just give ourselves. But I think a lot of times when we say you need to self-care is because parents do have this belief that I'm not allowed to do anything positive for myself because then I feel guilty because I should be doing it all for my teen. So there's kind of that other extreme where we feel like anything I do for me is taking away from my teen. And I think when we say we need to take self-care, that's for those people who are not or sacrificing their own mental health and their own well-being to always be there for their kids. And we need to understand that if we're sacrificing our own self-care and well-being, we're not helping our kids because we're not showing up for them the way they need us to show up, and we're not modeling good behavior. We're modeling that we need to just destroy ourselves for everyone else, and we don't want our kids to learn that.
That's so important. That clicked for me probably a little over 2 years ago because I was suffering from that perfect mom syndrome, helicopter mom, doing obligated, saying yes to everything. And my husband one day looked at me and he said, "You know, you're a mother, not a martyr, right?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "But I don't understand where to go from here." And I don't know, just saying no a lot more to other things outside of our home and less commitments. I got to really, focus on myself a little bit, and I calmed down, I became more present, and I definitely saw the shift in my parenting and also the effects with my children. I mean, resting and taking care of ourselves, especially with young kids and the way we parent today, a lot of us are the overscheduling or overcommitted. I mean, I wonder if these little kids like burnout mode, so like what you said, modeling for our kids. I'm very thankful that I have walked away from the martyr mode and more of the mother mode just to be a good role model for my own daughter, especially.
Yeah, I think when we go in martyr mode, and I love the way you put that, I love your way your husband put that martyr mother, because I do think we confuse the two. And we think to be a good mother, we need to be on top of everything and doing everything all the time. And our kids don't want that.
Right.
That's for our kids. That's for us.
Right.
That's for us to prove to ourselves that we are the best. But if we looked at it closely and said, what's best for our kids? That is not what's best for our kids at all.
Ooh, are we listening, everyone?
And especially when they're teenagers, that is definitely not what they want from us. And so when we keep trying to do that, and then we get upset with our teens for not appreciating all that we do for them. I see this so much, parents just like, I do so much for them, and they just don't appreciate it. It's like, they don't want you to do that for them. No, they don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they're saying, please stop. And you're not stopping. So we're not doing it for them. We're doing it for the appreciation and for art to fill our needs. And I get it. I'm a mom. I understand.
Right.
I also have ego and I also have insecurities that I need to know I'm doing okay. So I get that completely. But we need to separate what we're doing for us from what, I don't know if you can hear my cat meowing in the background.
No, not at all. She's agreeing with you.
But I think we need to separate. Am I doing this truly because my team needs me to do this, or am I doing it because I need to feel needed and feel like I'm doing everything? And like you said, Carrie, we may swing and say, I wanted this as a child from my parent. So I'm going to make sure my teen has it from me, which is wonderful and a great place to start. But then you have to go, is this actually what my teen wants from me? And am I giving it to them in a way that they need it? This is another thing I see, Carrie, a lot, is that we as parents show affection to our teens and we love on them all the time, and they push us away and we feel so rejected. And we take that as my teen doesn't love me, my teen doesn't want me around. What we're failing to see is that our teens' needs and how they feel loved changes over time. And so the kid that used to love our hugs and kisses and tickling and teasing and all that stuff no longer feels comfortable in their body. And that feels really invasive and uncomfortable to them. Or the lovey words that we use is embarrassing now to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they don't want our love. In fact, they need it more than ever. They just need us to show it in a way that they feel comfortable with, which means we need to adapt how we show our love, not get upset with our teens and make them accept the love that we want to give them, if that makes sense.
Wow, this is like so amazing. I mean, just for everyone listening, she is a psychologist, expert, and a mother. So you're getting all angles here. And wow, this just like hits home so much because even this morning at the breakfast table, like my husband was like trying to give my daughter like a big hug and kiss, and she was pushing him away. And the first thing I thought is like, oh, they're changing. Like they don't want their love like that anymore. But I never thought of it like that. This is so good. Oh my gosh, my mind is sort of just exploding right now.
And I think what's hard is because we read it that way, we back off.
Yeah.
So we start kind of distancing ourselves, and then we go, God, why is my teen distancing themselves from me? But we're actually doing it too. It's protective. I understand why we do it, but then our teens see us distancing ourselves and feeling hurt by their actions. And I'm going to give you another little.
Yeah.
Their job.
Give it to me, Dr. Cam.
Our teens and our children's job is not to make us feel okay. It's not their job.
Not their job.
It's not.
Yeah. It's not their job. Parents give, kids take. It's one way. It doesn't have to go.
It's hard. And I'm not saying that we don't love getting love back, and we will get it back. But we also, and here's the other thing, we need to realize that the way our teens give us love is different now than the way they used to show it. So no, they're not going to hug and kiss us anymore either. Some do.
Yeah.
Some do. A lot don't. But that doesn't mean they're not showing us love. We just have to be aware of how they're showing us love. And they may show it in really little ways, and just like sitting next to us while we're watching TV and just being quiet, or telling us a little bit about what happened in their day, or, just coming in and being like, thanks for the lunch. It's teeny tiny little things we often completely overlook because it's not what we're looking for. And it doesn't feel like enough in the moment, but we need to look for those moments because our kids show it to us all the time. And I have kids coming and telling me that their parents reject their overtures of love all the time.
Okay.
Because they don't recognize it.
Yeah. This is so important to keep in mind for everyone listening, because I know we're mentioning teens a lot, but even like this applies to, I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, almost 10, almost 7, and she's changing. And I'm comparing it so much to myself when my son is all over me, mommy, hugs and kisses, and she pushes me away. But I have to recognize that even with that kind of age gap, and even still being not even 10 yet, like things are changing. And self-awareness is clicking in here, Dr. Cam.
It takes a lot. And I think it's really hard. I think when we start feeling really hurt by our kids, and it's all ages, and you're right, especially 10. 10 is a big changing age. When we start feeling hurt by our teens, I think that is a sign that we need to self-reflect. And what is it that we're feeling hurt by? And let's not make assumptions about what's going on with them. I think it's more of let's tap into, why am I feeling hurt by this?
Okay.
What about this is because our teens aren't trying to hurt us.
Right.
They are so, and our kids in general are not trying to hurt us. Their focus is just trying to get their needs met.
Okay. Wow.
And that's fair. That's not being selfish. That's being a kid.
Yeah.
That's being, that's when we signed up for parenting, that's what we signed up for.
Yeah.
How do I help my kid thrive?
Yeah.
They tell us in their behavior what they need to thrive. And a lot of times we don't want to hear it because we don't like what they're saying. Because sometimes it's reflecting on they're not getting what they need from us. And if we step back and say, okay, and I had this with my team recently. I've been so focused on trying to get my business, because I'm like a single mom with my own business, and there's so much pressure on that. And she knows that she sees in my face when I'm not there. She'll say, Mom, where are you? And it hurts her. And I get frustrated because I'm like, I need to focus on this though, but I need to focus on her too. And how do I find that balance? And it's tough.
It's tough.
I can just cry because I'm like, I don't know how to balance this right now, but I need to figure it out.
Yeah. I will say I love that she's comfortable coming to you and or even calling you out on that.
She is.
That's amazing. I mean, that to me is a great sign of communication and you're being a great parent because I mean, growing up with two toxic parents, I didn't say how I felt. I just, there was no expressing myself. There was no space for my emotional needs. It was really all about them. So when I hear people say that, I'm just like, oh, that's a great parent right there. Like even when your child is like upset with you or hurt by you, they actually communicate with you. And it just means that there's just a trust. There's a real parent bond there. And I love hearing that.
Here, I think, and I want to bring this up too, because I think this is such an important thing, is that one of our jobs as parents is to give our kids, I keep saying teens because that's what I focus on. I know you're focusing on but all kids, a voice.
Yeah.
I think what's important is I hear parents a lot of times saying, oh, when they're out with their friends, they don't say no, they don't stand up for themselves. But when they're home, they don't allow them to stand up for themselves. When they say something, they're like, don't talk back to me, don't give me disrespect. That's not right. This is the way it is. We're teaching them that they don't have a voice. And it's hard to give our kids voices because again, we might not like what they have to say. And I didn't like what my daughter had to say. It was
Yeah.
hurtful, but it was truth.
Yeah.
And it's her truth. And so I had to give her voice to that. And as hard as it was to hear, it was made me able to reflect and go, okay, I need to figure this out. And my daughter is such an amazing self-advocate. Like she
That's
will go out
amazing.
there and advocate for herself on anything. And the other thing is I let her do her own self-application. I don't step in for her. And that's hard for me sometimes because I'll see things, especially with school.
I
And I'm like,
bet.
I do not like the way they handled this.
Yeah.
And I will tell her, I'm like, I really, really, really want to say something. She's like, Mom, this is mine. I'm like, you're right, this is yours.
Okay.
I'm just
Well,
going to let you know it's killing me not to say anything. I'm just going to let you know. But
yeah.
I understand this is not my fight, it's yours.
That's amazing. And this is the perfect example of having self-awareness as a parent because, how can like toxic parenting or not parenting in the most healthy way affect our teens, like our kids' development? Like you just said about like, at home, if we turn down the volume on their voices and then we send them out into the world and then we wonder, why don't they stick up for themselves? Why don't they speak their mind? So what are some ways that our parenting affects our kids' development like negatively?
This is a hard one to hear because I don't ever go into parent blame. And
Yeah.
first of all, I
Okay.
wanted to say every parent that I have ever met is doing their extreme best
Okay.
with the information that they know. And we know from how we were parented, we know from what we hear, we try to get all this expert advice and apply it, but it's hard to apply it in real life situations. And you're like, I don't know what they meant. I hear this a lot, right? So I first of all want to just say, if you're listening to the show already, you're an awesome parent. End of story.
Yay.
Right? You are. You are.
Yeah.
You're trying. And that's
Yeah.
all we can do is we can just keep trying and improving. And I'm
Yeah.
improving every day. Like it's endless. That doesn't mean it's exhausting. It's just there's
It
so
is
much.
endless.
With that said, when we are not self-reflecting and we kind of are going down this path where we're a little more self-involved, we send kids the wrong messages. And we send our kids these messages that they are not good enough unless they do what we expect of them. And what I see happening is kids become their inauthentic selves at home.
Mm,
They try to put on a mask and either they hide because it's too hard, or they put it on and they resent us, or they put it on and they just completely lose their sense of self altogether to try to please us. And we're like, oh, look how great our kid is because they're
yeah.
fitting our mold, but they're not our kid.
Yeah.
And so we end up, and I say it's like trying to fit them in a box. We're trying to squeeze them into a box that we think is the perfect kid for them, but it's the
Hmm.
perfect kid we think we need, instead of going, who is our kid and how do we help them become the perfect version of themselves? And
Yeah.
they may not be the vision that we had. And that's okay. They may be way better.
Yeah.
They're way better when we let them. So I think, first of all, we need to understand that we don't want to have set expectations of what we need from them and what they need to accomplish and who they need to be, because that's restricting who they are.
Okay.
The other thing is,
Powerful.
it is, and the other thing is that we give them the view that our happiness is contingent on them. And that's unfair. That's
Yeah.
way too much pressure to put on our kids. We need to be happy no matter what's going on with our kids, and not like happy woo woo. Happiness
Yeah.
come and go. It really is. It's a state of fluctuation. But our mood and how we feel about ourselves should not be contingent on how our kids are feeling. And I think we are not able to separate and create boundaries between us and our kids. And that means we try to control too much of how they behave and what they do, and to take too much value in ourselves and how they behave and what they do. And that's a dangerous place to go. And it's way too much pressure on our kids. It just is not fair, because now they can't learn to manage for themselves. They're learning to feel pressure to manage so that they don't impact us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and this is another misnomer, is I get a lot of parents just saying, I just want my teen to be, like, my child to be happy. Oh my goodness gracious, that is a hard expectation to put on your kid. Nobody's happy all the time. And what is happiness? And kids needing, I have had so many kids tell me, I'm exhausted trying to pretend I'm happy in front of my parents, so they'll leave me alone. We don't
Ooh, this is a big one. Oh my gosh. Okay.
to pretend they're
No.
happy for us.
Oh,
Got to give them space to not be okay. They
yeah.
have to, because it is okay to not be okay. But
Yeah.
if they don't feel like they can be not okay in front of us, then we've just shut them out. We've shut them out completely.
Wow, this is so important because, growing up how I did, I struggled with perfectionism and just people pleasing and trying to be number one in everything to win the love and affection of my parents, just like to notice me, like, hello, like, let's make this about me just a little bit. And it led to just being an adult that was a people pleaser and a perfectionist that suffocated me. It led to lifelong eating disorders. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle until you actually have the courage to step off the hamster wheel. But, I always tell my kids, like, I'm so sensitive when it comes to pressure, because they want to do so many things and I don't want to overschedule them. And I sometimes I can feel the little kid in me getting nervous and feeling the pressure for them. And I try to like check in with them, and I try not to show my anxiety, because I tell them, like, I don't care what you do in life, as long as you're just like happy and you find joy in whatever you do. Like, you have to do it for you. But I need to sort of, revise that a bit, because I don't want them to always think like, if you're not happy, if you're not feeling happy, then you're not okay. So that was so important what you just said, because I know, my daughter's so into tennis right now, and she just keeps wanting to practice more hours a week and things like that. And I worry, like, is this too much? Is this too much pressure? But I allow her, she knows she can come to me and like cancel a tournament or things like that. So, but I do need to make sure when I'm saying like, do whatever just makes you happy. I do focus on the night, have joy, be happy, but I need to teach her that even when you're not feeling happy, like,
We're not happy all the
okay.
time. That is such an unrealistic
Yeah, it
expectation. And I
is.
get it. I mean, we all say that, right? We just
Yeah.
but those are fleeting moments. They're not
Yeah.
a state of life. And
Yeah.
so we want to make sure. And then the other thing I think, see, is that kids are like, well, if it doesn't make me happy and I'm not happy all the time, what's wrong with me?
Ooh,
Why
okay.
am I not happy all the time? And a lot of kids now will say, I'm depressed or I'm anxious, when they're just really not happy.
Yeah, they're not happy. Oh,
And
wow.
we made it so that it is like a bad thing, and it's a sickness to not be happy. And
Yeah.
that being happy all the time is a sickness, because it's not real,
It's
right?
not real.
So I think we really do need to focus on, the sense of contentment, or the sense of feeling challenged, or the sense of not fearing failure and being okay with that, the failure, because I see also this fixed mindset where we're just like, we are what we are, and kids are afraid to try anything that there's even a slight chance of them failing, because
Hmm.
we have told them through our messaging and our responses that making mistakes is bad because we give them a consequence when they make a mistake, and we get disappointed and we give them a lecture when they make a mistake. Well, that's saying making a mistake is a horrible, terrible thing. Or we jump in and save them and do it for them to prevent them
Right.
from making a mistake. Now
Right.
they're terrified to do anything on their own. And we're seeing this in the workplace where people are complaining because they're like, oh my gosh, these kids do the bare minimum. They don't
Mm.
for themselves. Because they've never had to.
Wow. Yeah.
Gotta let them think for themselves, and we've gotta let them fail.
Yeah.
And we've gotta let them fail and say, yeah, wow, okay. What do we do from here? What's your plan from here? It's okay. We do this. Now what?
Now what?
Now
Yeah.
what?
I love that. I mean, everything you're saying is just reiterating that communication is really key in our parenting.
It's
Communication.
all it is. It's all we do. It all it is.
So maybe everyone that's listening now is like, wow, am I good at communicating? Am I good communicating with my children? Or maybe they're like, wow, I'm really screwing up the communicating with my children. What are like some things, like a couple tips that you can sort of like ask yourself as a parent, like, or maybe change how you're communicating with your kid? Like, what are your top
Oh, I've got some. Okay.
communication tips here, Dr. Cam?
Number one, here I'm going to say, the most important skill to develop as a parent is your listening. We are terrible at it. I don't care. I am a trained listener and I'm still not good at it when it comes to my daughter.
Is there hope for the rest of us?
Oh my gosh, there is. We just have to keep
Okay.
trying. Like,
Okay.
we need to just accept that we're bad. And
Okay.
I can tell you right now, if you're talking more than you're listening, you're bad. And
Oh,
I'm just saying, you're not listening. If
okay.
you are in your head while your child is talking, if you're in your head coming up with your response, if you are ready with a quick answer, if you are thinking through and finding all the whatever, like you're not listening at all. You're just processing in your head and waiting for your turn to talk, which I do that a lot. Listening means we are not talking, but we're not just not talking. We are trying with all our heart to drop any assumptions and pretend we know nothing at all, and trying to understand what our child's perspective. So I'm always going to say our
Yeah.
child's perspective is. How are they feeling in that moment? What is the experience for them? What are they seeing? What are they smelling? What are they like, trying to get into their world? Because if we're going into this with our own assumptions, we've already shut them out. We're
Yeah.
already not open. If we're going into a conversation with a preconceived idea of where it's going to go, and this is a hard one, I'll tell parents to problem solve with their kids. But what we almost always end up doing is we already know the solution, and we spend the whole time manipulating them to come up to our solution rather than going in with an open mind and listening to what their needs are and how do we help them meet their needs too.
Oh,
Which is
wow.
why kids don't often follow through with the solutions or the rules that we set, because we don't set them with their needs in mind.
Oh, that's good. I need to put that on a t-shirt. Oh gosh. And wear that around the house.
Right? It's hard.
Oh, it's so hard.
But here's a really cool thing, Carrie. When we learn to listen, our job becomes incredibly easier, so much easier, because now we have the information we need
Yeah.
to effectively respond. Now we know the information we need to really understand what our kids need from us, because they tell us all the time. All parents come to me and they're like, and I say, they really need you to listen. You're not hearing them. And they go, I know, they say that all the time. And I go, well, I can tell you what they need. Why haven't you been doing it? You need me to tell you what your teen has been telling you over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
And
I
you're
mean,
arguing with them that you are listening, but you're not. And I'm
yeah.
telling you now you're not. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I always considered myself a great listener, but I think I am talking too much. I need to zip it and truly listen to them more and hear their needs.
It's so hard because we're bursting and brimming with wisdom, and we want to prevent our kids from making mistakes, and we want to share with them all of our insights, and we want somebody to take all of our wisdom. We have so much.
Yeah.
They're the ones in the world that are supposed to take our wisdom. But that's not the wisdom they need. They need to learn their own wisdom. And when they start feeling confident in their ability and know we're listening, guess what? They're going to start wanting to hear from us.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm going to go vulnerable here and show that I'm dissolving my perfectionism. So, as an example, this is terrible that I say this sometimes to my kids, because, well, especially my daughter, because she'll start talking and I have all this wisdom that I want to share. And sometimes she's not listening to me. And so I'll say, listen, I've been 9 before. You've never been 46. Just trust me. And this is terrible, people. Dr. Cam just gave me a huge reality check.
Yeah.
Toxic parenting awareness here. Carrie Fun just had a self-awareness epiphany, and I'm going to cut that shit out of my my conversation with my kids. That's not listening. And that's, yeah.
Carrie, I want to share a story with you. It's an aha moment for me with this. It was like my family and I travel together all the time. It's like my sister, my brother-in-law, we go on trips all together, right? And my daughter's the youngest of all of us. So we were in New York in a museum and we're waiting in line and waiting in line. And we were excited to do this. And my daughter kept saying to us, we're not in the right museum. We're not in the right place. And we kept saying, we're the adults. We know what we're doing. We're the adults. And we kept shutting her down. You already know the answer. We were in the wrong damn museum. And she had been telling us for half an hour. And we kept shutting her down because she was a little kid and we were the adults. We did not know better. So we need to let go of our ego of being an adult. And the hard truth that I've learned to accept now is my daughter pretty much 9 times out of 10 is right. It's a hard truth for me to swallow, but now it actually just makes it easier because I just go with her.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you're right. Because she's just so observant and aware of things like that. And I'm not. I'm in my head all the time. So I think that they can be right a lot of times. And two, when parents say we know better than them what they need, that is so not true. And that is a dangerous place to come from.
Okay.
That is a dangerous belief because we are not them.
Yeah.
Not them at that age.
That is so true.
Even if we can vaguely remember what it was like at that age, we don't.
Yeah.
And we're never that age now.
Yeah. It's so true.
We have no idea. So that is a big boundary that has been crossed if you think you know your kid better than they know themselves.
That's so important to hear. And honestly, this is another reality check for me. My daughter at 9, even if I do remember myself at 9 some, is so much better than me in terms of just her self-awareness and her confidence, and even emotionally just like more adjusted than I was at my age. So I really should start listening to my freaking kids.
We've done a great job.
Oh my gosh.
Raise our kids so that they're more self-aware and more confident and more the stuff than we are, because if they just are what we are, then we're not moving forward, and we're gonna just keep throwing our own insecurities onto them. And that's been one of my biggest struggles as a parent, and one of the things I'm so intentional about, and I don't do it all the time well, but I don't want to pass my insecurities onto my daughter.
100%. I understand.
So focused. So I am constantly checking, how am I talking about myself in front of her? What are the things I am saying? What are the things, how am I dealing with setbacks in front of her? And that to me has been the biggest challenge, because it's not what I say to her, it's what I show her in my own behavior that she learns from. And having those conversations when I've done it terribly, and having those conversations.
Yeah, that's so important. I work so hard not to pass things on to my kids, especially any kind of body image issues I've had, and suffering from eating disorders for decades. I work so hard to talk about, how our bodies need to be strong and healthy, and what they look like does not tell you what they are. So sometimes I get so frustrated when my daughter will come home and, she'll be like, what's thigh gap? I heard a girl talking about thigh gap, and I'm like, I'm homeschooling my kids. I work so hard. And then she's this was in 3rd grade. I'm like, who is teaching their kids about thigh gap? Like, I mean, but you can't protect them from the world. Yeah. Honestly, my biggest goal in life is just to help my children as much as I can by supporting them and loving them unconditionally, but helping them activate those tools that are inside of them so they always just look inward to themselves and not out into the world, like for whether it's validation or needing thigh gap or what makes them like amazing and great. Oh, it's such a hard job, Dr. Cam.
It really, and we're not going to prevent all of that.
Yeah, we're not.
And we don't want to. Our kids are going to go through tough times. They're going to feel pain.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It's not whether or not they feel it and go through it. It's how are they able to recover from it?
Yeah.
And so we don't want to hurry them out of those experiences, and we don't want to fix those experiences for them. We want to support them through it because
Yeah.
that's the only way they're going to learn to do it. And that's where another parenting tip is we need to learn to validate their emotions and their experiences.
Okay.
And this is another one that we do poorly. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with validation for multiple reasons. One, we feel like we are validating their belief or we're validating their behavior. This is not about that. It's about validating how they are feeling and what they are experiencing. Because you know what? There is nothing we can do to change that. That is how they feel, and how they feel. It doesn't matter what it is. That is how they feel.
Yeah.
End of story. So we got to validate that. You feel that way. I get it. I hear you. I'm not validating why. I'm not validating the behavior, the way that you handled it, but I'm validating you feel that way. Here's what that does. It, first of all, is the number one way for them to start learning emotional regulation.
Okay.
We've now said, yes, you feel this way and it's okay to feel this way and you experience this. Right? We're not going to try to make you change your way, because when we try to make them feel happy and say, you don't need to feel that way or feel happy, we're not making them feel better. We're making them feel worse about feeling bad.
Okay.
So we want to say, yeah, right now, I get why you're angry. I get why you're hurt. Yeah. And we sit with that for a second. We don't try to change it. We just validate it. And then we go, now what? What do we do with that?
Yeah.
We don't do that. We don't say, this is what you do with it. We say, what do we do with it? What do you need now? What do you feel might help? And they probably don't know right away. It's time for them to start figuring that out. But that's what builds resilience. And you know what else it does? It builds a lot of trust and respect in us. And it makes it safe for them to tell us things that we want them to tell us when they're not feeling okay.
Right.
And that's when we want them to talk to us.
Yeah. It's so important. I think this is, a good reminder also for anyone that grew up with toxic parents or an upbringing. Like, you can't be so scared. Like, you can't be so scared for your kids not to experience pain. It's just, this was a good reminder for me that I don't want them to experience my pain from my past, but they're going to have their own wounds and their own pain, and it's going to be okay. It's just all these tips you're giving us to help support them and communicate with them and to let go of our ego and to listen, people. Are we hearing this? To listen to our children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. When we listen and we validate what they're saying and what their emotions are, that right there sometimes is all they need. Sometimes we've just done our job.
Wow.
Because now they've been able to process. They feel safe with us. They feel heard. They feel accepted and belong for who they are, even in their darkest, deepest, tragic moments, that they're still loved and accepted by us. And we don't need them to change that for us.
Yeah.
And when they feel that way, that is what boosts their confidence too and their resilience, because they're like, okay, even when I'm here, I'm still lovable and I'm still okay. And mom and dad are not going to abandon me or need me to change for them, because that's abandoning them. If you're making them change and trying to get them, and I'm not saying we let them wallow for 44 years, something. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying in that moment, we've got to let them feel that way. And if they are in a place where they're clearly depressed, then yeah, we want to find them help. We want to get to the root of that and find what will resolve that. But that's still not a pretend you're happy in front of me.
Yeah.
That's we're going to accept that but what I see a lot of times is I'll have kids going, oh my gosh, I have so much anxiety. I need help. I need medicine. I need therapy. I'm so anxious. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, I have a big test coming up. I'm like, we have now made it so that feeling nervous and feeling sad is a clinical issue, and it's not. Like, we have made it so that those emotions aren't acceptable at all. And
Yeah.
I think we've pathologized them. I can never say. We've pathologized them
Yeah.
instead of letting them be that emotion. And I think that's one of the things why we see this raise in mental health issues, is because we're more aware of them, but also I think we're starting to label normal emotions as mental health issues.
Oh, that's a big one. That is huge, honestly. I just got chills. I think all parents really need to hear that because, I mean, I always heard bigger kids, bigger problems. So, like, all of these things that I'm trying to do when my kids are young to prevent all of these things, honestly, it's the not listening, the making it seem like I know best, and not validating their feelings and then labeling them when they do feel them. I mean, my head is spinning right now.
Giving
I
them,
need to detox my parenting, Dr. Cam.
oh, you're doing amazing.
No, but this is so insightful.
A label for their emotion is actually really helpful, because we
Okay.
want to give them, I'm going to ask parents to drop anxiety and depression out of their vocabulary, though,
Okay.
because we now label everything anxiety and depression.
Okay.
That is a clinical state that only trained professionals can diagnose. Please. We need to give them more words.
Yeah.
Frustrated, nervous, not anxious, right? That comes so fast. We
Yeah.
want the more words. There are thousands of vocabulary of emotions
Yeah.
that we can use, and we have narrowed it down to like 3.
Yeah.
Give them more words.
It's sad and frustrated. I mean, those are daily emotions that are normal because, like you said, which I love, I think I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, happiness isn't a state of life.
No,
Right.
it is a fluctuation, just as sadness is.
Yeah. We're on a roller coaster of emotions, people, and it's okay. Enjoy the ride.
Happiness means nothing if you never feel sad.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
So
Yeah.
we got to go through all these emotions. It's okay.
It's
If
okay.
our goal is for our kids to be happy all the time, we are setting them up to fail big time.
Oh, you have shared so much expertise and insights today that I honestly, with everyone listening, I want you to grab your partners, your wives, husbands, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone that is involved in your children's lives and listen to this episode because there are just so many good bits of wisdom that really can shift your parenting into a more helpful, supportive, positive state. Like, I'm going to have to listen to this again before it even airs and check myself a couple times today. This was, Dr.
I,
Cam, this was amazing.
you. I'm so passionate about this stuff, and I love this stuff so much. And I think the hope that I have is that I constantly see these shifts that parents make with their kids. And I just met with a family yesterday, and they're like, the change from where they were to where they are now is so dramatic in terms of their kids' behavior. But the people that made the change were the parents.
Yeah, not the
And
kids.
when we switch and show up differently, our kids' behavior. So if we're always focused on making our kids change their behavior, we're focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Our kids are changing their behavior when we change how we show up for them. And often it means doing less, not more. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with too. We always want to know, what more can we do? What more can we do? And most of the time, it's what do we do less of?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Where can everyone find you?
So my website is just askdrcam.com. And I have a quiz on there that is the short assessment that you can take to see if you are on the right track with your teenager.
I'm
So
going to take it now as soon as we're done.
are your responses and is that your child's behavior indicating that the choices you're making are really bringing out the best of them? And I give you some feedback and some tips on how to power that up.
Everyone, after we're done listening to this, let's head to her website and take this quiz. I think it's a must. And also check out her Instagram. What is your Instagram handle? Because she is full of wisdom, but she is so entertaining. And when you're needing a good laugh, you need to check out her Instagram. It will for sure make you laugh about anything parenting.
I love my teen. My teen follows me on it too, and she's like, "Mom, you got it right that time."
Oh my God! Hey, listen, that's amazing.
To like my stuff, it's really funny. But I'm at Dr. Cam Caswell. Dr. Cam Caswell.
Thank you, Dr. Cam, so much for today.
This was fun.
This was so fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Surviving Roots. Let's continue this conversation as a community. For more updates about the show, remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. Also, there will be some special bonus footage from the show on Instagram at carrie.fund. I'll see you there.